It's the first podcast just south of Indy, the All In Johnson County podcast, where we are all in for everything awesome about living, working, playing, and visiting Johnson County, Indiana. This is the place for all things Greenwood, Bargersville, Franklin, Whiteland, and all points in between. A proud member of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Way to go! You found the All In Johnson County podcast. Now, here's your guide, Dr. Brad Miller.
Hello, good people. I'm Dr. Brad Miller, and I'm all in for Johnson County, Indiana. And if you found your way here to the first podcast south of Indy, I imagine you're all in for Johnson County as well. This is episode 1 of the first podcast dedicated to all that is awesome about living, working, doing business, and celebrating everything good all in Johnson County, Indiana. Let me introduce myself and why I created this podcast, and then we'll focus on what's in the All in Johnson County podcast for you. I'm a native Hoosier and moved to Greenwood through a job transfer in 2007 with my wife and kids, and we quickly knew this was the place for us. Our boys graduated from Center Grove High School, where they were involved with athletics, theater, and choir. I was a pastor for many years in this community. When I retired a couple of years ago, my wife and I decided Johnson County is where we wanted to be. So we bought a house and settled into our forever home. A month later, a routine blood test flagged me for cancer, which led eventually to surgery and a long recovery process. My journey in that process continues, and I know that I'm not alone in this. I've been podcasting since 2012, so that makes me an old head at this game. In fact, my first podcast was for the Center Grove lacrosse team when my son was the captain of the team. I had so much fun doing that I just have never given up podcasting. I kept on doing it and continue it to now. To date, I've published over 1,000 episodes over 6 or 7 different podcasts. I've spoken at podcast conferences to thousands of people, and I've even won some awards for podcasting. Yes, I do love podcasting, and I'm passionate, and yeah, I have accomplished a few things through the craft of podcasting. But you know what else I love? I just love Johnson County, Indiana. I love the place where I live. My wife and I love to walk the parks in Johnson County. We've been to just about all of them, and I think that there is possible to visit. I think one of our favorites is Northwest Park in Greenwood. Not too long ago, they added a length of trail to connect 2 sections of the park, and we love how they did that there, and we love how that really makes it a beautiful wooded walk. We go to all the parks. We love that. We love to walk in the evenings, especially. I like the funky coffee shops in all of our communities here in Johnson County. One of my favorites right now is Fresh Pots in downtown Greenwood in the Old Town. The restaurants are great. There are lots of them. There's the craft beer places. Mount Lorenzo's a cool place, isn't it? The shopping, can't be beat. We've got 2 malls. We've got the Greenwood Park Mall and the Edinburgh Mall. And our towns are small and they're quaint. And they have cool boutiques and shopping and the downtown things. There's lots of cool things there, and the downtowns of all of our communities are really. In downtown Franklin, you got the courthouse, which is impressive, as is Franklin College, and I just think the Art Craft Theater is a gem. That is a gem that not many towns have. The business community here is thriving. The schools are excellent. The medical care is stellar. And how about all those festivals that we have? Is it any wonder that Johnson County is called Festival Country, Indiana? On top of that, Johnson County is smack dab in the center of a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, as right here in Johnson County, we're in the middle of what they call the zone of totality regarding the solar eclipse, which is going to happen right here and throughout the country, the world, on April 8th, 2024. But that also means that a whole lot of people are going to be coming to Johnson County and seeing the cool things that are happening here. And there are a lot of cool things that happen right here in Johnson County, and there's plenty of good stories to tell. But I noticed something was lacking here in Johnson County. There didn't seem to be a podcast focused on the people and the places, the businesses, the events, the festivals, all of that, right here in Johnson County, Indiana. At least that was the conclusion that I came to with Alan Hall, who is on the staff at Wish TV in Indianapolis. And we had a conversation about podcasting because we're both podcasters. And Alan runs the Wish TV All Indiana Podcast Network and is a longtime resident of Franklin. So Alan and I put our heads together and put two and two together. And what do you know? The result is the All In Johnson County podcast, which is a proud member of the Wish TV All Indiana Podcast Network. So why does All In Johnson County, the podcast, exist? Well, it was created for you, the good people of Johnson County. So, if you live in Bargersville or Greenwood or Franklin or Whiteland, New Whiteland, Edinburgh, Trafalgar, Nineveh, Princess Lake, or any of the places in between the rural areas, All In Johnson County podcast, it's for you. And perhaps if you're listening to this, checking out Johnson County from afar and considering a visit here or perhaps to relocate here, then we're going to talk a lot about all the good stuff here in Johnson County, and you don't want to miss that. Because we're going to focus here on all the good stuff in Johnson County. And we're going to profile businesses, for instance. And we're going to talk about the great places to go and visit and the experiences that you can have right here in Johnson County, the opportunities that are here, and the events that you can experience, all those festivals, for instance, that we have. But the All In Johnson County podcast is going to mostly be about the secret sauce that makes living, working, and playing in Johnson County awesome. You know what it is? It's you. The people of Johnson County, Indiana. So we want to hear from you about your favorite places to go, your favorite restaurants, about your schools, about your business, about the education, and about healthcare systems, local government, religion, social services, all the things that are happening here in Johnson County. We want to hear from you. We want them to share that good news with others. If you listen to the All In Johnson County podcast, you're going to learn a lot about what makes Johnson County tick. What you will not hear is a lot of whining and griping, as our focus will be on the positive, productive actions that we are taking and can take in our county from the perspective of effective, positive change, which serves the greater good. Now, don't get me wrong. We'll address challenges which face Johnson County, but we are going to take an approach to get some good stuff done. And how can we work together and collaborate to do good? So there you have it. A bit of background about the big why that I have for creating the All In Johnson County podcast. And moreover, a little bit about the bigger question, which is the big who, if you will, as in who this podcast is for. That who is you. And I truly hope that you will partner with me in creating a truly helpful and unique and powerful podcast, the All in Johnson County podcast, which will truly be a voice and project a vision of the good things here in Johnson County. So I want you to know that you are going to be a part of building this podcast together. So please reach out to me. You could email me, Dr. Brad Miller, at this email address, brad@allinjohnsoncounty.com, or you can leave a voice message at our website, which is allinjohnsoncounty.com/voicemail. And let me know. Give me your suggestions. Give me your input. Leave me a shout out that says, hey, I'm Brad from Greenwood and I'm all in for Johnson County. I love to hear those. And you never know. You might just be a part of the podcast episode one time. Now, here's what I would kindly like to ask you to do. Please listen to the first 3 episodes of the All in Johnson County podcast. Give it 3 shots. Each episode is going to be probably around 40 minutes or so long. And you can find it at the website. We'll be coming on several times a month. You can find it at the website, allinjohnsoncounty.com, or you can find it on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook page, which will begin. You can find them at All in Johnson County. You just type that into the search fields and you will find it. And on all the podcast apps, Spotify, Apple, and so on your phone. So you can listen to us or watch us just about anywhere, several times each month. And if you like what you hear, then please take some action. And what that means is to, on whatever app or whatever system you're looking at or listening to the podcast, like, review, and follow the podcast. That helps so much. But most of all, please, if you like what you hear, invite your neighbors, your coworkers, the people in your life to share in all the good stuff that's going on here in Johnson County by helping them find the All in Johnson County podcast. And if you're a business owner or an event planner, you probably already know about the incredible power of podcasting and how it is just getting more and more prevalent in our world, and it's just growing. Right now, approximately 60% of people listen to podcasts, and it's projected to go to 90% in the next few years. It's getting stronger. So there are ways that you can partner with the All in Johnson County podcast, which will serve you well. So I just invite you to reach out to me particularly, see how we can work together to serve you. Let me leave you, good people, with this thought from Benjamin Franklin. You ever see that statue of Benjamin Franklin right near the Franklin College campus? Reminds me of the wisdom of Benjamin Franklin. And I want this podcast to be all about doing things wise in such a way to serve others. Here's what Benjamin Franklin said. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. I see launching the All in Johnson County podcast as something worth doing. And my vision is that you will find listening and watching the Johnson County podcast worth your while. Until next time, good people, this is Dr. Brad Miller. I'll see you down the road.
Now that you've been all in Johnson County, of course you want to share this goodness with others. So be a good neighbor and ask them to join you on the next episode of the All in Johnson County podcast over at allinjohnsoncounty.com/follow. This is your announcer, Wish TV's events manager, Alan Hoff from Wish TV and a resident of Franklin, Indiana. All in Johnson County is a proud member of Wish TV's All Indiana podcast network. We'll see you next time, All in Johnson County.